Your phone is an incredible piece of technology and also a tiny pocket-sized tyrant. But before you fling it into a volcano, let's talk about how you can take back control without going back to the Stone Age. In this video, I'll be sharing a bunch of ways to stop your phone wrecking your life, and also we're going to explore how people are rebelling against the psychological traps that these things can create. I'll also ponder where this is taking us in the future, but none of that matters until we understand why so many people have been feeling so guilty about screen time. And this may shock you, but most people check their phones an average of 144 times a day. That's about once every 6 minutes. Now, if that doesn't shock you, have a look in your screen time under pickups, because there's a chance it might be even more. Either way, that's definitely more than most people in the 90s check their pages, or the number of times you think, yeah, I should drink more water, and then don't. And do you know the worst part? Our phones actively troll us about it. Oh yeah, thanks Tim Cook. You think I don't already know that I've got a problem here? It's like having a tiny little narc living in your pocket. But why are we so bad at stopping? Well, it's not really all our fault, because these things are literally designed to keep us hooked. All the social media apps, just like the one you're watching right now, are programmed to keep you scrolling indefinitely. If you don't believe me, you should read this book by Tim Wu. It's pretty horrifying how certain companies have been trading in our attention for years now. And let's be real, if you open your phone to check the weather, there's a pretty high chance that you'll end up looking at something else, like a 12-minute deep dive on why lobsters don't age. Or is that just me? Good news though, we're starting to fight back. One way is that we are seeing a rise in the use of dumb phones. Just look at these stats from Google Trends for people looking for devices like this one from Punked, which to me is kind of ironic because we spent 10 years trying to get rid of buttons, and now people are willing to pay $300 for a phone that is more buttons than screen. Another thing that started happening is people literally locking their phones away. Yeah, phone safes are a whole industry now. You put your phone in a locked box and then you can't access it again until a timer goes off. Now my parents are in their 70s and 80s and they're always telling me how weird it is that people don't seem to have self-control these days, but my parents didn't grow up in an age of smart devices. It wasn't quite wooden hoops running down the street, but they definitely didn't have access to this kind of thing. Their teenage and early adult brains weren't wired together whilst using an unlimited dopamine machine like this one. I'm not saying it's necessarily better or worse, but it's definitely different. I'm going to share a bunch of tips and tactics that I use in just a minute, but one that I'm a really big fan of is a little app called Forest. Now the way this works is that if you want to focus on a project, you set a timer, it blocks all your other apps and disturbances, and then you get to watch a cute little tree grow while it kindly tells you that there's nothing to see here. And over time you can build a forest and even compete with your friends around all this kind of thing. And the best thing is you can use the little points that you save when you've planted some virtual trees to plant actual trees here in the real world. How cool is that? Now, so far, we've covered a few ways that your phone can ruin your life, but I promise you, this one really stings, because if you're not careful, this thing might be handing out your personal data like chocolates at a children's party. No, seriously, thanks to data brokers, your full name, email, phone number, and horrifyingly, even your DNA records are being sold to marketers, scammers, and that weird guy from LinkedIn who keeps insisting that his business opportunity is totally not a pyramid scheme. And let's not forget identity theft. According to the annual data breach report, data breaches went up by a whopping 72% in 2023 compared to the previous year. And I promise you, it will ruin your day when you discover that some stranger in Luxembourg just took out a $50,000 loan in your name using your credit rating. But don't panic though, this is where this week's sponsor, Incogni, comes in. And Incogni is a service that automatically hunts down the kind of data brokers that would sell on your personal data. It demands that they delete your personal information, and it stops them from selling it ever again. It's like having a lawyer, a bodyguard, and an angry ex all rolled into one, but you know, without the drama. They even offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, which I think sounds like a much better deal than that weird LinkedIn pyramid scheme. If you check this out, I ran a search on my records the other day and I was completely shocked just how many of these data brokers had all of my details in their system. Well, Incogni give you a dashboard where you can track which data brokers have been contacted, what kind of risks they pose, and it shows you when they've complied with the deletion order. So unless you really enjoy spam calls or creepy targeted ads for hair transplants, this is probably the best thing you'll do this year to make sure that your personal information doesn't find its way into the wrong hands. You can take back control of your data today with Incogni. Just head to this code over here or the link in my description for 60% off an annual plan. All right, let's get into 6 practical ways to stop your iPhone from wrecking your life. Number 1, turn off all of your notifications. And I know this sounds super simple, but most people don't actually do this, and I promise it'll make a massive difference. It just involves getting into your notification center and going as hard as you can on all those toggles. Now, I think unless it's your close family trying to get in touch or a pay your credit card bill now reminder, I would say in almost all cases, you probably don't need to be notified about it. Number 2, set your screen to grayscale. Do you know what? Social media is a lot less fun when it looks like a 1950s newspaper. And to set this up, on an iPhone, just go to Settings, Accessibility, Display, Color Filters, and then flick this toggle on, and then hit grayscale. You can also turn this off and on pretty easily by programming a shortcut to do this. And once you've given this a go, you'll see how much your phone addiction is simply down to bright light and colors. Number 3, use focus modes or do not disturb. iPhones actually have a built-in method to give you some control over your device. Now, if you swipe down and use the focus modes or do not disturb, that will stop you getting sucked into phone hell when you don't want to be interrupted. Now, you can set up lots of different versions of these where certain apps get hidden, or you can just use Apple's default settings to stop you getting notifications when you're asleep or when you genuinely don't want to be disturbed, like at work. And as a side bonus, because these show up in the other person's iMessage windows, people will just assume you're really important and busy instead of just ignoring them. Number 4, physically separate yourself from your phone. Now, unless you're waiting for urgent news about a birth, a marriage, or a death, chances are you probably don't need your phone glued to your side all day. You'd be absolutely amazed how much more you get done when your phone isn't even anywhere near you. Now, even when it comes to bedtime, just charge it outside your bedroom. If you need a phone for an alarm clock, just buy an alarm clock. They're really not that expensive. Number 5, try the dumb phone experiment. 1 weekend, no smartphone. If you can survive that, congratulations, you might be ready to go down the dumb phone route. That means selling your glossy dopamine machine and picking up one of these dumb phones instead. Most of them are pretty well priced, and along with basics like working as a phone and as a messaging device, often they've got other essentials built in like a calendar, GPS, and internet tethering. Some of them, like the upcoming Light Phone 3, also even have a camera built in. Now, if you don't make it through a dumb phone experiment, don't worry, this final tip might also work. Number 6, install a dumb phone app. So recently, I've been testing out this app, which is helpfully called Dumb Phone. It's a bit like focus mode, but on steroids. It turns your shiny iPhone into a very minimalist style with no color phone apps, pesky notifications, or anything that might sneak in a dopamine hit when you pick up your device. Now, you do get some simple buttons to open essential apps from a list that you pick, and that's about it. And you can create an immersive dumb phone experience by choosing which apps you're blocking entirely. It's like a full-blown detox, but then your iPhone is there underneath it all if you ever need it. I wanted to finish off with a thought, a kind of glimpse of the future, if you like. Just have a think, when was the last time you saw someone smoking one of these in public? I tried, and honestly, I just couldn't remember it. Now, interestingly, both phones and cigarettes started off as luxury items. They both became massive addictions, and now they both have health consequences that some people try and ignore. It seems kind of mad to imagine it, but smoking was once seen as the height of sophistication, but now smokers have to stand outside like dirty little criminals. Now, although phones aren't ruining your lungs, they are proven to damage your attention span, wreck your sleep, and your ability to even make eye contact with people you love. Now, the thing that stopped people smoking cigarettes wasn't just the health side of things, it was something more psychological, rooted in the way society eventually just turned on smokers. They simply became uncool. Do you think phones will ever go that way? Well, maybe. We're already seeing phone-free concerts, bars, and screen-free retreats. All of these are designed to help people live in the now and not feel the need or the temptation to pick up their phones. I tried one of those bars the other day and it was absolutely awesome. Not that I could show you, of course, because I had no way of documenting my experience. You're just going to have to take my word for it. I mean, who knows? Generation Alpha might one day see us glued to TikTok the same way we saw people in the 80s slathering themselves in baby oil instead of Factor 50. Well, folks, have you tried any of these techniques to stop your iPhone from wrecking your life? Let me know your best tips in the comments, and yeah, try and do better than these ones, eh? Now, if you're putting your phone down to get some stuff done on a larger screen, maybe like a MacBook, I recently made a video showcasing some of my favorite Mac apps that most people won't have heard of. It's right over here if you want to check it out. See you next time.